Patrick Cooper Cronk here. I imagine you've written a lot of books and a lot of articles around in rugby league and different sports for that fact. What was the one thing writing this book, reliving the days of Olsen and what he did, that resonated with you that helps today's Pacific players play the game?
I think what helps Pacific players play the game now is the personalised man management side of it. Back then it was one size fits all. And guys like Olsen, a lot of the poly boys today are they're mummy's boys, effectively. The dads are very harsh disciplinarians, particularly the Samoans and Tongans. So back then, giving guys a spray or talking 1,000,000 miles an hour or threatening them with dropping them to reserve grade, that wasn't a good way to handle the Pacific and Māori players. But you would know yourself, Coops, from Craig Bellamy, who's the current master, I think, of man management. It's very important that it's customised. Some guys can handle a spray, some guys can't. But I think the big thing that they can take away is that a lot of the Sydney coaches really didn't know how to get the best out of Olsen, whereas Graham Lowe was always able to turn him into a superhero by empathy, and he'd love him like a second son and really take care of any problems he had off the field, and he would repay that in gratitude with great performances.
And are there any stories in the book specifically regarding Graham Lowe's coaching that you can tell us about?
I think there's one that stands out, and that is after the second test in 1985, where basically the Kiwis did everything. They beat the Kangaroos hands down except on the scoreboard. Wally Lewis got them out of jail with a last-minute pass. And they were a bit down and out and depressed because they'd done everything right and still lost. And he took them on a bus up to Queen Street Mall in New Zealand and Auckland and just walked the team from the top of the mall down to the bottom. And he clued up all the radio stations before that. And all the white-collar workers and blue-collar workers all came out and started cheering the Kiwis, and they lifted them out of their slump. And the next test, they were just Superman, and they thrashed Australia 18-0. And it was, for me, the turning point for New Zealand from being punching bags to being the third formidable force in international rugby league.
Patrick, we've got a copy of the book here and we've flicked through it quickly before coming on the show. And the one thing that stuck out to me was in 1980, Olsen was doing the garbage run around the streets of Sydney and actually picked up the rubbish bin of the biggest name in rugby league at that time, Arthur Beetson. How has he told the story about that sort of run-in and the run-ins of other rugby league icons during that era?
Well, it's amazing how many people who Olsen has been their garbo from up in Ryde, Blocker Roach, he was his garbo, he was Vossi's garbo, he was Peter Fitzsimon's garbo. He's one of Sydney's longest-serving garbos now. He's just hit his 40th year. But very luckily, as Olsen says, luckily the technology has favoured him because his knees are gone now. But he's up in the truck now. He doesn't go out the back. He's just up in the truck, and he said it's like playing Space Invaders. so it's and that shot with that photograph with Artie, which is in the book, is simply unbelievable because Artie went on to be his coach.
Yeah.
And Artie, in many ways, was a prototype before Olsen, a big man that had incredible ball skills, and Artie could have played in the backs as well. Key difference was Artie loved, if you said something to Artie, Artie would punch you back. And Olsen made a promise to his mother that he'd never punch anyone back, no matter what they did, because he didn't want to give Polynesians and Māori a bad name. So that was the difference. Olsen would get them back legally and just take their number and put a big shot on them. But you didn't want to mess around with Artie Beetson.